Shalom, welcome back. We're going to continue on with our study and reading in the Gospel according to the Hebrews, the Reconstructed version in the Rock of Assure Foundation. So we're up to chapter 13. It says, On that day Yeshua went out from the house and sat on the shore of the sea. Great multitudes gathered to him, until he needed to enter a boat, and all the multitude stood on the beach. He spoke to them many things in parables, saying, Behold, the sower went out from his house in the morning to sow his seed. As he sowed, some seeds fell on the road, and the birds came and devoured them. Others fell on the rocks, where they didn't have much soil, and immediately they sprang up, because they had no depth of soil. When the sun arose, and above it became very warm, they withered, and because they had no root, they dried up. Others fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up and suffocated and darkened them. Others fell on good soil and yielded fruit, the first 100 times, the second 60, and the third 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. The disciples came near and said to him, Why do you speak to them in parables? And he answered them, To you it is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but it has not been given to them. My secret is for me and the offspring of my house. For whoever has in their hand, to him it shall be given again, and he shall have abundance. But whoever has nothing, from him shall be taken away even that little that he thinks he has. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because seeing they see not, and hearing they hear not. In them is filled up what was said through Isaiah the prophet, Go and say to this people, Hearing you hear, but do not comprehend, and seeing you see, but do not understand. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and return and be healed. But happy are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For most certainly I tell you that many prophets and righteous men desire to see the things which you are seeing, and didn't see them, and to hear the things which you are hearing, and didn't hear them. I will give you what no eye has seen, and no ear has heard, and no hand has touched, and what has never arisen in the heart of man. But hear then the parable of the sower. The sower, he is the Son of Man, and the seed which fell on the ground are those who hear the word of the kingdom, and do not understand it, so the adversary comes and snatches away that which has been sown in his heart. This is what was sown on the road. But what was sown on the rocks is he who hears the word of God and immediately with joy receives it. But he is like the seed which has no root and is in confusion, but endures for an hour. And when a little trouble and tribulation or persecution comes to them because of the word, Satan causes them to forget from their heart the word of God, and he produces no fruit and is offended. And he that was sown among the thorns, this is he who hears the word, but in his desire to gather wealth, the adversary causes him to forget the word of God and suffocates the word, and he doesn't bear any fruit. And he that was sown on the good ground, this is he who hears the word and understands it, who most certainly bears fruit from good works, and produces from the first 100 times, and from the second 60, and from the third 30. As for the 100, this is the one purified in heart and sanctified in body. As for the 60, this is the one separated from women. And as for the 30, this is the one sanctified in matrimony, in body and in heart. He placed another parable before them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is similar to a man who sowed good seed in his field. However, while his men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares also over the wheat, and went away. And when the herb sprang up and produced fruit, then he saw the tares also. The servants of the owner of the house came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where did these tares come into it? And he said to them, My enemy has done this. The servants replied to him, We will uproot the tares. But he said, No, lest perhaps while you gather up the tares you might root up the wheat with them in the same time. Let both grow together until the harvest, and when in the harvest time I will tell the reapers, First gather up the weeds, the darnel, and bind them in individual bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. He placed another parable before them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is smaller than all seeds, but when it falls on tilled ground, it produces a large branch, so that it becomes a shelter for the birds of the air. He spoke another parable to them. The kingdom of heaven is similar to leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of flour, and it leavens all of it. Yeshua spoke all these things in parables to the multitudes, and without a parable he didn't speak to them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken through the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter riddles and enigmas hidden from ancient times. Then Yeshua sent the multitudes away and went into his house, and his disciples came to him, explained to us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered them, He who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. In the field it is the world, this age. And the good fruit, these are the righteous, and the tares, they are the ungodly sons of Belial. And the enemy who sowed them, he is the adversary, the devil. And the standing grain at the end, it is the age of the world to come. And the reapers, they are angels. As the reapers gather the tares to burn, so it shall be at the end of days. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they shall uproot out of his kingdom all the evil ones that cause offense, and those who do iniquity. And they shall cast them into the furnace of fire. Then shall the just ones shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let them hear. So, if we can pause for a moment, if you've seen my series on who is Esau Edom, you know who the tares are. The tares are the sons of Edom. And at this point in history, they were sown among the Judeans. There was this event called the Edomite incursion, where Edom essentially made their way into Judea. Eventually an Edomite, Herod the Great, became declared king of Israel by the Roman authorities, and from that point forward, Edom was able to come into positions of power over the sons of Israel that were still in Judea, so that by the time Yeshua appeared on the scenes, they were basically subjugated to Edom. So the tares are the Edomites, and the wheat, of course, is the sons of Israel, the children of God. We're in a similar situation today. Edomites have risen to positions of power in this country. For the most part, they're ruling behind the scenes, but I think is true of most countries at this point. They've almost pretty much taken over the world. And so we're probably going to see this parable of the wheat and the tares played out sometime soon. But this is what I believe to be the correct understanding and interpretation of this parable. Again, Yeshua said to his disciples, the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and hid. In his joy over the value, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who is a merchant who possessed merchandise, seeking to buy good pearls. The merchant was prudent. Having found one pearl of a great price, he went and sold all his merchandise and bought the pearl alone himself. You too are to seek for the treasure that does not fail, that endures, where no moth comes near to devour, and where no worm destroys. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a dragnet that was cast into the sea and gathered some fish of every kind, which, when it was filled, fishermen drew it out upon the beach, and the fishermen sat down on the seashore and chose the good and put them into containers, but the bad they threw away. So it shall be at the end of days. The angels shall come and separate the wicked from the midst of the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. By the way, just a point of clarification, notice that the wicked are the ones being raptured away. The angels shall come and separate the wicked from the midst of the just. In the parable of the wheat and the tares, the angels are gathering up the tares, not gathering in the wheat. So you don't want to be raptured. Have you understood these things? Yeshua said to them, have you understood these things? They answered him, yes, Master. And he said to them, therefore every scribe or wise man who has been made a disciple in the kingdom of heaven is like a man who's a householder who brings out of his treasure new and old things. When Yeshua had finished these parables, he passed over from there, and coming to his own native land, he taught them in their synagogues, so that they were astonished, and said in their hearts, where did this man get this wisdom and power and these mighty works? Isn't this the blacksmith's son? Isn't his mother called Miriam, and his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judah? Aren't all of his sisters with us? Do you not know all these that are with us? So how did all these things come to this one?" And they were confused about him. But Yeshua said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his native place and in his own house. A prophet is not acceptable in his own country, neither does a physician work cures upon them that know them." And he did not wish to do there any sign because of their stubbornness and unbelief. At that time Herod the Tetrarch heard the report concerning Yeshua, and said to his servants, "Behold, I believe that John the Baptizer is doing these miracles. He is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers work in him." For Herod had arrested John, bound him, and put him in prison, because John was reproving him that Herod should not take as his wife Herodias, because she was his brother's wife. For John was saying to him, "It is not permissible for you to have her." And Herod wished to kill him, except he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday came, he called the nobles of his kingdom to eat with him. And while they were eating, the daughter of Herodias danced among them, and it pleased Herod. Therefore he promised with an oath to give her whatever she should ask. And she, being prompted by her mother, said, "Give me here on the head of John the Baptizer on a plate." And the king was very sad, but for the sake of his oaths and those who sat at the table with him, he commanded it to be given. And he sent and killed John in the prison. And they brought John's head in a dish, and gave it to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. And the disciples of John came and took the body and buried it. Then they went and told Yeshua. Now when Yeshua heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a place in the desert wilderness of Judah. When the multitudes heard it, they followed him on foot from all the cities. Yeshua went out, and he saw a great multitude. He extended mercy to them and healed their sick. When evening had come, his disciples came to him, saying, "This place is a desert, and the time is getting late. Send the multitudes away, that they may go into the surrounding regions and buy themselves food." And Yeshua said to them, "They don't need to go away. You give them something to eat." And they told him, "Here, we only have 5 loaves." So in the original Hebrew Matthew, they didn't have fishes. In fact, the fish didn't appear until around the 3rd or 4th century. So notice there's no fish mentioned in this, because again, this is, of course, restoring the gospel according to the Hebrews. So I restored it back to the original condition of the text. But we have many, many witnesses from early Christian, we call them the church fathers, right? But early Christian leaders who would refer to this verse, and they never mentioned fish. It was always the loaves that he fed them with. So verse 17, they said, "We only have here 5 loaves." And he said, "Bring them here to me." He commanded the multitudes to sit down on the grass, and he took the 5 loaves, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples distributed to the multitudes. They all ate the bread and were satisfied. They took up 12 baskets full of that which remained, left over from the broken pieces. Those who ate were about 5,000 men, in addition to women and children. Immediately Yeshua commanded the disciples to get into the boat and go ahead of him to the city where the multitudes were going. After he had left the multitudes, he went up into the mountain by himself to pray. When evening had come, he was standing there alone, but the boat was now in the middle of the sea, being driven by the waves, for the wind was contrary. In the 4th watch of the night, Yeshua came to them, walking upon the waters of the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were alarmed, saying, "It's a ghost." And they cried out from the greatness of their fear. But immediately Yeshua spoke to them, saying, "Have faith, it is I, do not be afraid." Peter answered him and said, "Master, if it is you, command me to come to you on the waters." And he said, "Come." Peter stepped down from the boat and walked on the waters to come to Yeshua. But when he saw that the wind was strong, he was afraid that he should sink. And he cried out, saying, "Master, save me." Immediately Yeshua stretched out his hand and took hold of him and said to him, "Man of little faith, why do you doubt?" When they got up into the boat, the wind immediately ceased. Those who were in the boat came and knelt before him, saying, "You are truly the Son of God." And they departed from over the sea, and they came to the land of Gennesaret. When the men of that place recognized him, they sent into all the surrounding region and brought to him all who were sick with various kinds of diseases. And they entreated him that they might just touch the fringe of his garment. and as many touched it were healed. All right, we've reached chapter 15, so I guess this is a good place to stop. So we'll pick up again right here. Shalom.